everyone, it's Sami from Sami's Sweet Life, and Cloudlet is in here. I'm not going to be doing a full-on Go Wild recap as far as like sitting and explaining everything that happened. Basically, you guys are here, you get the gist of what Go Wild is. I will insert all of my photos and little clips that I've taken along the way with like subtitles and things. And in true Sami fashion, I totally talked forever, and I will make a separate video being a complete Go Wild recap with all my video footage and photos, and I'll walk through that step by step. That is not this video, however. But I assume because you're here, because of the title, was it worth it? Of course, it's not completely cut and dry, black and white, but I'm gonna be talking about the things I liked, the things I didn't like, as if you know what Go Wild is and kind of the setup of Go Wild. I'll put time chapters in. Basically, Go Wild is a planner conference, so if you are obsessed with planners, it's a fun thing to do. It is really, really expensive. We will talk a little bit about numbers in this video, but before we get started, I got my full-on like Go Wild glam going on today. And I have this shirt that says Planner Girly on it. So I love the Do We Know Them podcast. I watch them on YouTube and it's so fun. It's Jessie Smiles and Lily Marsden. Honestly, I didn't know them from other things. I never followed that whole genre of videos. At that time, I was a scrapbook YouTuber and that's really all I watched, is scrapbook YouTube. So I did not follow any sort of other things. I don't know them from their personal channels or what they did at various other companies and things. I just know them from this. I found it through some sort of celebrity gossip thing and came across their podcast super early on because they are covering trending topics, and I watch every single episode of their podcast as soon as it comes out. That's what I'm doing tonight, is watching them on this podcast. So I love them, and they call their subscribers the girlies, and so I made this one in honor of them. Planner Girly. I really like this one. I made it. I will talk more about shirts at some point, but as far as the question, is Go Wild worth it? It really just depends on you. Is it worth it to pay gobs and gobs and gobs of money to get free stuff and schmooze with some planner people? It may be worth it to you. It may not. There are so many great things about Go Wild. I'm so glad I went. I will probably keep going back, but there are also some not so pleasant things that we will discuss in this video as well. So first, let's talk numbers. Numbers are a big deterrent for a lot of people. It's $700 for a ticket. It was $6.99, which basically $700. That's a really significant amount of money for a couple of days. You know, the stuff optional starts Wednesday. You have to pay an extra, I think like $140 for that shop summit. If you're an influencer, if you own some sort of planner related business, this is more business side things. I didn't do it this year. I'm probably going to do it in the future. It's one of those things where I'm borderline. I'm a YouTuber, yes, but I don't want it to be my job, but I could monetize a little bit better than I do and have a little bit better practices than I have. I would like to up my game at some point, but I also felt like, you know, it's going to be too businessy for me. So I didn't do it this time. And then I kicked myself. I was like, I want to see what it's like. I want to be there and learn everything that they're talking about, even if it's stuff I won't implement. I would like to just know kind of some of the options as far as monetization. So that's part of it. Is I really wanted to go. It was also an extra like $140 for that separate ticket. And I just knew I was already spending so much money. I didn't want to do it this time, but in the future I will. So you're talking like just bare minimum. If you're going Wednesday through Sunday, it is the $140 plus the $700. So $840. I had to do math in my head. It was hard. So you're talking minimum almost $1,000 just for that ticket. And if you're flying in, you got to pay for flights. You got to pay for some sort of transportation. So Ubers or Lyfts or rental cars or whatever, potentially parking on top of that if you do a rental car. So that's just a lot to consider as far as money. So it was in Dallas. I drove, and that saved me tons and tons of money. I didn't have to fly. I didn't have to get a rental car. I could bring my own cooler, which was very helpful. Food is one of the main issues I have around the whole thing, and I'll talk about it when we get to that part of it. I didn't have very much as far as food expenses because I brought a cooler. You know, I just packed up groceries and took it with me. Flights are expensive. Car rentals and Ubers and all that stuff, that's expensive. If you're paying for every meal out of pocket at a hotel or at a restaurant, that's expensive. So you got to add those costs in. There's also all sorts of extra fluff things, is what I call them, extra fluff things. So I got my hair professionally done. That was bank. I got my nails professionally done. That was also bank. I also made really nice table made gifts. That cost a lot of money. I also put together swaps for 200 plus people. That cost time and money. You know, all of these expenses were totally extras. You don't have to do swaps. You don't have to get your hair professionally done. You don't have to even have table made gifts. A lot of people don't. So if you can't afford that aspect of it, don't do it. You know, just don't do it. I'm in a position where I could do that, but it was a lot of money, and I'm not going to lie. That was like probably an extra good $1,000 on top of everything between all of that for me. So that was all extra fluff that doesn't have to happen. It just makes things a little more fun to have those things, especially like for me, I'm an introvert. So me just going up and walking up to strangers, even if they're planner strangers, is really freaking intimidating. So I wanted to have all the little things that could be conversation starters for other people too. Like, I can hand these to complete strangers. It gives me something to make that connection where I'm not like just walking up to people really nervous. I can have something to give to them. And that was a big thing for me as a safety blanket type of thing where I'm nervous about meeting new people. I'm there on my own, not really sure what to expect as my first time going. I found that really invaluable to have something to hand to any human being in any situation. And that was a safety blanket, really important thing for me. I also made shirts. That's another expense. A lot of people complimented my shirts or my hair or my nails. It gave them a reason to reach out and talk to me as well. So I was way more approachable with all of the setup. And I also felt like I could approach people because I had something to hand over. And you know, all that's completely 100% unnecessary, especially if you're an extrovert. You just go. Like, you just go and show up and make new friends really easily, probably. But for somebody like me who's a little nervous about it, I had all those extra things to make it a better experience for me. Like, instead of just standing at the wall being really nervous and timid, I had all those things. Like, I am here, I look the part, I'm ready to show up, and that was really important for me. So if those kind of things are important to you, you got a budget for those too. Just no out of pocket. You're going to be spending a lot on the prep stuff going forward. And I did stay at the hotel, the sponsored hotel. I bought my ticket super early, bought my hotel room super early on the room block. And my hotel room was over $200 a night. So my hotel room was about $900. You're talking bare minimum tickets, hotels, airplane fees. I would say it's totally reasonable to say $3,000 to $3,500 is pretty safe of a bet, I feel like. And that gives you lots of room to do some extra things on top of just the bare minimum. And that's a really expensive vacation. Like, we rent a beach house in North Carolina, and we can rent a beach house for a week for about $3,000. So we're not talking insignificant cash. So it is a stretch. It is expensive. That's one of the main downsides, is it's just expensive. And you just got to know that going into it. If it's something you want to do and you can save up for it and just do it. It's really a fun experience. And I'm going to be saving up for next year because I really want to go again. On top of the other things, I'll probably have airfare on top of everything next year because it probably won't be within driving distance again. So that's just, very much a huge consideration of the whole thing is just the money aspect of it. And it's something you don't want to talk about. People don't like talking about budgeting and money and all that stuff, but it's an important thing, I do realize the privilege of being able to go to it as far as money goes. So it's just not an insignificant portion of this whole thing. And then the other thing was a huge con at the event, and I feel like it could have been planned a little bit better, but it wasn't a deal breaker type of thing. The hotel placement was really nice because you could go across the street and there were plenty of food options. There was room service, and there was a little cafe, and there was a little like coffee shop type thing in the hotel, but all those things were really expensive. Like, you're talking, we're downtown Dallas in this special, I want to say almost hipstery type of area. It's got bars and city nightlife. It's next to a stadium. That stuff's expensive. I got room service one night, didn't even get that much. I got a soup, a side, and a dessert. It was like $60 all said and done. It was really close to $60, and that was all I got. And of course the portions were huge, but it was not that much food, for $60. So if you're doing that breakfast, lunch, dinner, you're spending a lot of money on food. Now, they did provide some food sometimes, and for me personally, it was laughable the amount of food and the amount of options that were provided. As far as paying $700 for a ticket, I feel like the food choices could have been way better. And so this is my main criticism and con of the whole thing. I feel like the ticket price itself for what you got was really reasonable for a conference, but they could have provided way more food, way better food options. It was a sponsored welcome party, and I didn't even know they had cupcakes and Rice Krispies until they were gone, because they just didn't have a whole lot. I'm inserting a picture. They just didn't have a ton. And these pictures are ones I got off of the Facebook group. Now, I want to also gripe because I didn't know there was food. There were so many people. It was complete chaos, and clearly this is not enough food for 2,000 people. So you're looking at it, it was not very clear even where to go for like drinks. You had to buy your ticket and then go stand at the bartender line. It was just complete chaos. There was no clear direction, and I clearly didn't find the food, and people took multiple things and then they ran out really fast. So there was no real clear directions or anything, so I could see why people took more than one thing. And it's going to be like beating a dead horse in this video. You're going to hear me say this. We're planners. I expected this thing to be planned to a T and over-planned even, because we're planner people. Like, this is a planner conference. So I didn't expect to walk into not knowing what was happening and no real clear directions or anything. There were a ton of us who got in the complete wrong line, and they finally would tell us where to go to stand in the correct line. So I ended up standing in multiple lines to even get a drink that I had to pay for. So I think the freeze frame that I stuck on to do this voiceover completely summarizes my feelings about it. You're talking 2,000 planner people coming to this thing. Make sure you got enough dang cupcakes, like bare minimum. Make sure you got enough cupcakes. Also, that night was not open bar, so you did have to purchase your beverages, and they were expensive. Of course, you're at a hotel. The drinks were like $15. I got like a, little teeny tiny margarita. It was $15. It's like the welcome party, and having to pay $15 a drink, and then not even knowing that there was food. It wasn't very clear that there was food, and it was gone like that. That's disappointing, when you're a newbie and you don't know that there's food and you know that there's drinks, but you have to pay for them and stand in lines to pay for your drink. It's kind of disappointing. So that was kind of a bummer. At both days, Friday and Saturday, there are a lot of speakers, and then there's a food break. And there was some sort of breakfasty stuff provided, but it wasn't a whole lot. Like, they had some teas, they had some yogurt parfaits one day. It was like a make your own yogurt bar with toppings and things. By the time my friend got up to it, she could barely even get much stuff. So it ran out quick. She said there was like one flavor of yogurt left, and she said it was great, but we had to stand in line and fight the crowds to even get the little bit that she did get. And then I have no idea where the sandwiches even were. It, again, was complete chaos, tons of standing in line, not really sure where to go. There were a couple of people trying to direct people into various lines, but like each section had a different thing. So if you get in the wrong line, you're not going to get much. They had some canned sodas. The next day, for the same thing, they had the same drinks. They had pitas and hummus and like pistachio biscottis. And that's all I saw. I didn't go the second day. I was like, it's kind of a joke. I'm not going. I'll go to my room and get my own food, because I did bring my own cooler and had my own food. So I didn't fight the crowds and try to do that. But the food was not very plentiful, and they were kind of obscure choices. Like main number one thing, where the heck is the coffee? Like, you have this many people showing up, provide coffee. Don't provide like fancy yogurts and stuff. Provide like breakfast on the go stuff, pastries, bagels, coffee. Like, that's all we want. We want coffee. Like, give me a donut and a coffee and I'm super happy. And it was a little bit obscure choices. Like, I'm not going to eat a pita and hummus at like 10 in the morning. Like, just not going to do it. So it was a little bit weird choices, and also not enough food, and also not coffee. So like, that's number one. And I'm not even a huge person that needs caffeine, but I knew a lot of people at my table were complaining because they needed coffee, but your girl packed some iced coffee in the cooler, so I was covered. That was really disappointing. Like, for $700, I want everybody to be able to get a dang donut, or everybody to get a dang cup of coffee. I don't want a Pepsi in a can, and I don't want a pita. Like, it was kind of weird. So that's my main complaint, is the food. The food was not plentiful. And I went to Planjama, but I got there a little bit late because I was at an affiliate event right before it. And by the time I got there, the food was pretty much picked over. And by the time I had ordered a couple of drinks, and this was open bar, there was no food left. So I didn't even get any food at the Planjama, which is totally fine. I had my own cooler, like I said, and I also had come from dinner, so I didn't need food. But it's just disappointing that especially this time, you're having an open bar, you're having food, make sure there's enough food. That's like my main one gripe about all of the logistical stuff. So if I had flown in and those were my food options, I would be pretty irritated. Like, spend a crap ton of money buying my own stuff, get the free stuff, which is kind of weird, and fight in the lines and possibly not even get anything. Like, once my friend got up to get the yogurt, there was only a couple of little choices left. Like, the food went quick. Going along with the food, this was a hotel thing. And I was like, I get that it was a new hotel. You didn't know what you were getting. Maybe not put us in a brand new hotel. Another option, maybe stick to the same location once you do find a really good location. So the hotel had two different main levels that we were doing things on. So the first level was the big area for all the planner booths and things, and that's also where the food breaks were for the speaking days. And then the speakers were in a different place on the third level. So there were escalators for up and down. There were also stairs. There's also some elevators. This is a hotel thing. First of all, we're planners. So I'm going to say, like, planner people are planning this conference. I want it planned to a T. Like, I don't want these kind of weird things to happen. And I get that it was a new hotel, so they didn't know, but it's a planner thing. So this part really just kind of irks me as a planner. Like, oh, this could have been so much better. This part could have been prevented. It was really effing annoying having to go from the first floor to the third floor to the first floor to the third floor for, going to the speaker things, going to get your food at the food breaks, that kind of thing. That was annoying. And it was made even more annoying when the escalators were closed. So we're hiking up and down big flights of stairs. Like, this is a 20-foot ceiling type of area. So we're hiking up massive amounts of stairs going back and forth for a food break. Why was it not like put in the lobby, hallway, corridors around the main thing? Like, if you know it's a food break, if it's only an hour or a 30-minute food break, put it right outside where all the people are going to be. So you're not having 2,000 people using stairs, like the same staircase. It was a lot. It was crazy how much chaos that part of it was. And again, I'm not completely blaming the Go Wild creators and planners because it was a new hotel. They didn't know what they were going to get. And I'm sure there's some sort of reason why they didn't just move the food up, even though they could have moved the food up at some point, especially the second day when both escalators were closed. The first day, one of the escalators was closed. The second day, they closed both escalators. That's annoying. That's annoying for people, Like, okay, I have a little bit of fit privilege. I can hike up and down stairs, but not everybody can, Not everybody can stand for long periods of time. Not everybody can hike up that many stairs relatively easily. So it's really disheartening for that to be the option, Like, that needs to be planned better next time. So that was a major, major gripe that I had, is like, provide us some dang coffee and make us not hike up a billion stairs to just go to where we need to go next. It's just disappointing. So I hope that's planned better next time. And that's going to be dependent on whatever hotel it is. That just happens to be a Go Wild 2024 specific gripe. Maybe they'll do different foods next year because of people complaining about the weird food and not having enough food. This planner convention specific gripe for 2024. So all of that hopefully will be mitigated next year, and it just really depends. And I feel like part of my complaints could have totally been mitigated if they just pick one location. Like, every year Go Wild is going to be blah. And as somebody who has anxiety about times, about parking lots, I would love it to be the same place, because next year, who knows what the heck we're going to get, because we're going to be at a totally different location, at a totally different hotel. I don't know what the parking's going to be like. Things like that, as a multi-time going, like as a second time going, having all that be brand new again in a new location, that part's kind of disheartening. I would love it to be the same location every year, even if I know I'm going to be flying across the country. I like that stability of it. And like, once you find a location that you guys love, that the hotel works, that everything flows really nicely, there's logistically enough space, all those things, once you find that location, stay at that location. I don't want to hear like, oh, 2026 was the best year and every other year the hotel has sucked, that kind of thing. I feel like it needs to just be one place. And a lot of this stuff is overlooked because you're just there and having the best experience. But I want to keep it real for you guys. These are like legit complaints, legit things that could have been avoided and maybe should have been avoided and could be avoided for the future. So like, if we're having the same discussion next year about there not being any coffee, then we'll talk and get more angry about it. But for this year, it's the gripe. And again, I said, totally 100% worth it. Even knowing those things, I would go again in a heartbeat. Knowing those things and going back in time, I would do it again, even with that. So no regrets. I still loved it. I still would have spent all of the money, still done the hair, all the things. knowing what I know afterwards, I still would have done it and it was still worth it. Just the friendships that you make and the connections you have in real life for something that's, online. This is an online world. Just being able to meet people in real life that I followed for so long is such a fun thing. And I even had people know who I was, which was awesome. I don't usually get that. Every once in a while in real life, back when I did scrapbooking stuff, I had people every once in a while realizing like they had watched my videos like of my hands and stuff. I'm like, hey, yeah, I do YouTube. I do scrapbook YouTube. If I met somebody and I like felt comfortable enough to tell them, or if they said they were a scrapbooker, I would definitely be like, hey, I'm a scrapbooker too. I do a YouTube channel. And then they'll be like, yeah, I know your videos. So that's happened a few times, but this was like people walking up to me and be like, oh my gosh, you're Sami Sweet Life. It's like, oh my gosh, really? Me? I'm so excited. So I totally short-circuited the first couple times that it happened because I was just, first of all, I'm like totally out of my element, totally overstimulated with everything going on and a little bit frazzled. I had a moment of car issues, which I will talk about in this video as well, like my embarrassing car valet situation. So I was kind of coming in frazzled and trying to like get my bearings and like figure out what I was doing. And then people came up to me and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. I didn't know what to do. I short-circuited. So of course they think I'm a spaz, but I was so happy to meet you guys. It meant so much to me to have people come up to me and be like, I watch your videos. It was so fun. That was one of the fun highlights that I didn't expect. I expected to run into people that I had watched and like fangirl over them, but I did not expect anybody to like come up to me and be like, oh my gosh, I watch your videos. So it was so cool. But like meeting people, which you'll see in like my slideshow, all the compilation, I met so many people that I have followed online. I also knew people from an Erin Condren event, like being able to chit chat with them more and get to hang out with them more was amazing. And it was just such a fun, soul-filling experience. And like the week afterwards, I was like, how do I assimilate back into real life after this amazing, like just totally surreal experience? It was so incredible. I had like withdrawals afterwards and we are over 2 weeks out now and I still want to go back. Like I still want to go back and do it again. It's just so much fun. So I totally recommend it. If you have the budget for it and you're obsessed with planners and you care about planner paper and planner pens and all the stuff, it is so worth it. And like, I don't have any gripes about any of the speakers. I thought at first when I was like reading down the list, I was like, I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. I don't really know this company or much about it. Every single speaker or singer in certain cases, every single person who was up on that stage was amazing. And I have so many more people to follow. And I was just blown away. Like ones that I really thought were not going to be my cup of tea, like younger people, social media people. I was like, I'm too old for this. Nope, love them. I'm so hooked. I just love everybody who presented. So I feel like even if you go in and you're like, oh, I'm not so sure about this speaker or this speaker, you might just be blown away. And I will say some people's complaints that I have seen actually were, it was a little bit woo-woo-y. It was a little bit new agey. There was one thing I didn't go to, which was like the sound bath stuff. I'm not into that. I didn't go to those things. But some of the speakers, you're there for the motivational speaking, and some people did not like that stuff. We're talking about you're writing a letter to yourself, and one of the things, like letter to your future self. One thing you're like doing stream of consciousness journaling, just writing out your thoughts and hopes and dreams and anything that flows out of your head. A lot of the speakers are like trying to pump you up. And so it is a little bit not like, this is how we plan and this is the pen to use and like really rigid and structured. It's more like feel good, happy stuff. And I totally love that kind of stuff. So I'm not gonna lie, like I'm not a huge affirmations type of person, but I loved everybody who speaked and I did not have that complaint. I know that some people have complained about that. I loved it. So I really just felt totally fulfilled all around this weekend, meeting some other influencers, meeting some company people. I'm also an affiliate for Erin Condren and Moxie Life, and having those events were really special. The fun, the friendships, the speakers, all of that just felt so priceless for me. So all the money was worth it. All the food, randomness, even if I had to pay for the food out of my pocket and been a little inconvenienced, totally would have been worth it. Even hiking up and down the stairs totally would have been worth it. I just had the best time ever and I want to go back already. So I've been 2 weeks. I want to go back already. Like, take me back, go wild. So I hope you guys liked my was it worth it? Was it not worth it? I gave some cold hard truths about it. I think the hotel itself was really nice. Now, I had a main problem, which maybe this was communicated somewhere. I did not find that communication. Freeze frame, I completely was not the only one. The person in front of me trying to check in also had the same problem as me, but hopefully they didn't valet park their car like I did. I would love for there to be one centralized location for communication. Like, we are planners, we plan. I want to know every single detail and I want it all in one place so I can figure it out. There's an app, so there's announcements being posted in the app, but there's a lot of overwhelm in the app. There's also a Facebook group specific for that year that you get invited to. There's also tons of information posted there. I want one central place where I can find everything I need to know, and I want that really well communicated from the Go Wild people themselves. Like, this is where to go to find all your information. Here is the Q&A for every single thing that you're going to want to know. I want all of that way better communicated because, like, for instance, I wanted to go to a crochet meetup thing that was held, and the room time changed. I wanted that to be way better announced than just a random piece of a thread that I happened to find when I was searching for where it was even going to be. So things like that. I want to know where I need to go for help, where I need to go to find my information and not have multiple places feeding you information. So one of the main room things changed. So again, we need to know about that. So part of the detailing, why I'm even like ranting about that a little bit, is part of the detailing is there are two hotels. There is the Lowe's Live or Live Lowe's, and then there's the Lowe's, like the same name basically. So I typed into my GPS Lowe's, it took me to the wrong freaking Lowe's. I don't know. I wasn't at the Live whatever Lowe's or Lowe's Live. I was at the other one, and they're across the street from each other, connected by a sky bridge, which is fine, totally fine. Like, I'm not far apart, not far away. I had already valet parked my car. So that led to a whole ordeal at the end of my trip when I was trying to get my car out. Like, I was frazzled, like already had unloaded my car and valet parked it, and they took my car away, and I'm going into the hotel to check in. And thank goodness they don't give you the trolleys to push around yourself. Like, I've done tons of weekends as a third-year dance mom. We're almost at the end of competitive dance season number 3. So I am really well versed in weekend stays at hotels and traveling with tons and tons of luggage and stuff, because dance costumes and dance bags is like a whole thing. I pack more for my kid than I pack for myself for these weekends. So I had like gobs and gobs of stuff. I brought the huge dance bag that's like a body bag. And thank goodness I wasn't in charge of this trolley. They don't let you push the trolleys at this particular hotel. They have a bell person helping you. The valet guy and the woman in charge of my trolley helped unload the car, wouldn't let me do anything, and she pushed the cart inside, waited for me to check in. I go to check in. I'm like in line to check in. Finally get up to the front, and they're like, "Oh, you're not at this hotel. You're at the Lowe's hotel." I was like, "I am at the Lowe's hotel." Like, wait a minute here. And she's like, "Oh no, you're at the Live Lowe's hotel. Your hotel is across the street, right there." And I was like, "Oh, because I just parked my car just there." And she's like, "Oh, it's okay. The tickets will work, whatever." I had the ticket. I said the ticket from the valet. "Let's go ahead and get you to the right place." So the lady who helped me load up the cart took me and my cart and took me to the other hotel to check in. So I was super frazzled because we traveled, like we had to go through elevators and sky bridges and figure out where the heck we were going, because she's familiar with one hotel, not familiar with the other hotel. I'm in a completely new place, so I'm totally frazzled. Like, I just totally majorly messed up. I'm totally frazzled. So I would have loved to have some communication, be super crystal clear that there were two hotels. So I would have pulled my GPS into the right Lowe's hotel and not valet parked my car at the wrong place and gotten super frazzled right out the gate. I'm like walking back to the booths after all this stuff, finally getting like into my room, getting checked in, like traveling across the hotels, like sweating, like hot sweat, embarrassment. I had to change clothes after like going hiking across 2 different hotels. Walking in and like being super frazzled with everything. It was just a lot in the beginning. So I would have loved to not be a dog and somebody tell me that there were 2 hotels. So that didn't happen to me. And then like felt further like a getting my car out of the valet parking because my car was parked at the wrong hotel. Like he was going to take my ticket. And I was like, okay, this ticket is for across the street. So I parked with the other hotel, even though I'm checked into this hotel. And it was a whole thing, like a whole big thing. It took them a really long time. Somebody else came up to me. They're like, "Hey ma'am, you've been standing here a really long time. Has somebody helped you?" And like, let's get you out of here. Basically, it's like, you've been here a long time, just standing here like a weirdo. Get the out. So, I had him come up to me. He's like, "Okay, well, somebody took my ticket and then they said everything was okay. And then, here we are." And, then more people came up, like a manager was out there dealing with a different situation. So all of a sudden, like 4 guys are like, "Okay, tell us what happened." Okay, I'm gonna tell my embarrassing story yet again. How I went to the wrong hotel and left my car at the wrong hotel 4 days ago, and then told them the story, and they're like, oh, okay, so you're checked in across the street, but you parked here? And like, they got it confused, and finally, like, two of the guys figured out exactly what I was saying, and they're like, oh, okay, let me see if I can go find your ticket. What's your car? And it's like, it's a blue Honda Pilot. You can't miss it. Like, it's a bright blue Honda Pilot. So eventually somebody comes back with somebody else's keys. I was like, no, mine has a house key on it, and it's a bright blue Honda Pilot because it said blue Pilot. So they're looking through keys. They're not seeing the right key thing. Like, they're looking through all the keys, and the guy's like, I will go find your car in the parking garage and get the number off of it and find your keys. We're going to take care of this. I'm going to find your car. What does it look like? And I was like, it's a bright blue Honda Pilot. And I pulled up a picture for him. He's like, oh yeah, I'm going to be able to find that. No problem. So thankfully I was the only bright blue Honda Pilot. Like, here's a picture of my car. You couldn't miss it if you were like physically in the parking garage, and he came up and you couldn't miss it when he's coming up in this bright blue Honda Pilot. First of all, it's the trail sport, so it's like 2 inches or so taller than the other Honda Pilot. So honestly, like, even sitting next to another Honda Pilot, it looks massive, and it's really, really fun. It's absolutely my dream car, and I love it, and the bright blue is just so good. It's so easy to spot in pretty much any parking lot ever because it's a little bit taller than the other Pilots, and it's super bright and blue. And what's fun is there's another one in town, so every once in a while we like connect eyes and we're like, hey other blue person. But anyway, that was my whole rambly story. He found my car. Thank you so much, DeAndre. You found my car. It was so helpful. And yeah, the other valets are like, yeah, nobody could have missed that car. Some of them were like, that's kind of cool. I've never seen one like this. I was like, yeah, it's kind of a different one. So anyway, that was my whole car ramble. Unfortunately, I did not get pictures with nearly enough people, and that's something I will try to do better. Hopefully if I go next year, that's something I hope to do better in the future, is like the people who came up to me, especially, like, if you watch my videos, I am so sorry I did not take a picture with you. I'm so sorry I didn't write down your badge name and be able to find you. I felt so terrible about that because I'm like, oh, I should have offered to take pictures. I wanted the pictures, like, especially like Kelly, the first one who came up to me, like, knew who I was, came up to me. I regretted that moment afterwards. I was like, oh, I wish I would have taken her picture. I wish I would have written down her badge stuff so I could find her. Thank you so much for reaching out and finding me, because I had mentioned somewhere, I'm like, I'm so sorry. There were a couple people that happened to, and I really apologize for my just lack of knowing what the heck to do. It was just such a spaz moment for me. It's like, oh my God, you watched my videos? Like, are you talking to me? It's like one of those moments like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is real life. This is really happening to me right now. So I apologize that you witnessed that. You saw me spaz out. But I will do so much better next time, guys. And there were so many people, like, I had great conversations. I met new people, totally didn't get pictures with everybody. So I regret so much. So many pictures that could have been taken that didn't get taken. So I was so much better by the third day. I was like, let me take a picture of your badge and let's get a picture. So I was so much better about it by the end. But in the beginning, like the first like day and a half, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I totally messed up. So that's something personally I will work on doing better next time. Let me know if you guys have any questions from this. I hope that this video was helpful and informative and mildly entertaining, laughing at my expense for all of the car drama that I had. It was so embarrassing, guys. I was mortified, like checking into the wrong side of the street at the wrong hotel and hiking across with like my trolley of stuff and somebody helping me push it because I wasn't allowed to mess with it. Like, this is like their policy. They don't want people like running over their own feet and stuff. So we couldn't do the trolley ourselves, which actually, thankfully, I had somebody there with me during this because that would have been even more mortifying, is like having my whole body bag and multiple bags of stuff. So I'm so thankful that I made it through this horrible embarrassment thing. And I'm glad that we can laugh at it now together. I did have 2 questions. I'm going to pull them up. So I am so sorry. My thing expired, so I cannot figure out where to find my other question. But one question was about crowd management, and leave me questions in the comments if you have other questions that didn't get answered in this crazy long video. But one of the questions was about line management, because 2 years back was a California one, and the line was like Black Friday chaos. So they did way better line management last year at the DC place. They did not let people line up early, and it was really, really strict. Like, they had a certain time people could start lining up, and that was it, because that Friday is when the sponsored tables are. I was at the zebra table. I used it in the thumbnail. You'll see it in lots of my pictures, actually, because I wore it a lot. I still love it, and it's going to be proudly displayed on my board back there. I didn't care that much about stuff. I work with affiliates. I get stuff from companies. Companies reach out to me as a YouTuber. Thankfully, I'm very blessed. I just kind of buy what I want, and then I also receive plenty of stuff through my various different collabs and affiliate associations. So I didn't really care what table I got to some degree. So I let Sarah pick. Sarah's one of my planner besties that I pretty much latched onto all weekend, to be honest. I just latched onto her the whole time. I talked about her a lot in the swag video, but I let her pick. Like, she had certain tables that were her like top picks. So I totally let her pick. Honestly, I just couldn't care less what the table was. And I saw so many pictures. I took pictures of a few different tables. They all looked gorgeous. I would have been happy at any table no matter what. So I didn't really get up that early. I didn't get up insanely early that morning thinking, okay, people are gonna line up at 6:30 because that was the time we were allowed to line up. When I got down there at 6:30, the line was crazy already big. So they did not do the rule of nobody can line up before, even though they said they were going to. It said in the thing, nobody can line up before 6:30. People were lining up at like 2:30. Like, people lined up really, really early, and the line was chaos by 6:30. So that's just something to note, that it really is hotel dependent. It's not anything that Go Wild can have that much control over. It really depends on the hotel. So the line itself was like nice and orderly. It was like zigzagging around, but it's a ton of people in a line, and they're way earlier than they were supposed to be. So if getting a table is super important to you, like if you want a specific company's table because that's your favorite company, you want to be at that table, I can see where it could be really important to some people. You're going to want to line up really, really freaking early. And I don't know if next year they're going to let you line up before the cutoff. Like this year, people were lining up way before they were supposed to. So they were going against the rule, but nobody was stopping them. So I see where it's like, yeah, if they're going to let you line up, heck, line up, you know? So I get both sides of it. It's like, if it's important to you, you're going to be there early, like the Black Friday shoppers. Like for me, nothing, no physical thing is important enough for me to line up at Black Friday times when people line up. Same with like at the swag. No swag is worth it for me personally, but I don't do that. I'm not that Black Friday shopper that's going to be there waiting in line. You know, I'm not the Stanley girls who are going to wait for the special edition Stanley at the Starbucks overnight. It's just not me. Nothing's that important to me as far as stuff goes. I know how entitled and privileged that sounds, and it is. I'm incredibly blessed that it's not that important to me, you know? Just keep that in mind. Like, if it's really important to you, the line situation this year would have really royally made you mad. And if you are going to Go Wild just for the stuff, you could totally save your money and buy anything you wanted for less money. It's not worth it if you're just in it for the stuff, but if you're in it for making friendships and making connections and that kind of more priceless stuff, then it's totally worth it. But like I said in my swag video, it's about the swag, but it's way more than the swag. It's way about the people. And that was the priceless part for me, is like just meeting the people, getting to hang out with people, getting to have fun, and just getting away like for my own solo travel thing for something that's just completely my own thing was amazing. I have not done that. I went to one wedding. My precious baby cousin got married and I was there that weekend, but that was like a family thing. So it's a little bit different than like something completely just totally for me, my just favorite hobby, and being able to do it was so much fun. So yeah, I can't recommend it enough. So even when I'm griping throughout this video, it was still 100% worth it, and I cannot wait to go back. So let's wrap this video up. I know it was incredibly long. I hope the time chapters helped you guys. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow me along. You guys know the drill. I say it pretty much every video. So I hope you guys have a great day. Leave your questions down below if you still have other Go Wild questions. I will catch you next time.